Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite Dark Sorcerer here, Michael Hyson. And tonight I'd like to discuss ritual sorcery with you. As most of you know, within the occult community, even if you're an intermediate or advanced practitioner, most rituals can be dubbed down into three categories: compassion, lust, and destruction. Okay? But what can you do with just these three categories? Let's take a look at history for an example. We know that in the old days, such as let's go into African traditions, sorcerers who are employed by their kings or the village king, the elder of the city, was employed through before any action was taken. Number one. Number two, they were always consulted on any given topic before any action was given. All right. Now, what's interesting here is that sorcery and ritualized sorcery vary depending on the laws of the land. You see, because Africa is one of those locations that are separate countries, like say region is different from Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is different from Malawi. Okay, not mentioning you got North Africa and South African traditions. Okay, which are literally broken up between Catholic, Christian, and Islamic traditions. Okay. But outside of that, you also have other practitioners. Practitioners of necromancy, Wiccan, and pagan practices, even today. Okay. So even if you get out of African traditions, where in one village, say for example, something is legal, like say black magic, you get into another, you're going to see where white magic is legal and black magic is illegal. Another village is considered both good and evil magics, are both lawful. Okay. This is how it's been in Africa for hundreds of years. But if you get out of Africa and you go into, say, Greek mythology, Greek traditions of necromancy, you see the Greek definition, necro, and especially in necromancy, where you see reanimation of a corpse versus that of, say, spiritual conjuration, okay? Utilizing bones, like in Norse mythology, Norse practices such as Anglo-Saxon, Celtic traditions, even Germanic or Slavic, okay? Sorcery is even combined with other traditions. Since the 10th century, Slavic witchcraft is mixed in with between pagan and Christian values. One of the things that really takes root through the world is what happens when a conquering nation comes in, especially if it's religious. First, they introduce their doctrine, their way of life into a community. It gets incorporated into that system of sorcery. This can be seen through the European church, run by the Knights of Templar, and that of, say, the Vatican. Two churches rivaling each other. The Knights were the protectors of the people. They worshipped Baphomet. Okay? They worked with Baphomet through demonolatry, or what then was known as demonolatry. Okay? Or I should say, actually, the way we know it today as demonolatry. That's the better way of putting it. Okay? When they rivaled the Vatican through finances, through power, the Vatican started putting limitations on them, dismissing them from their duty, and eventually destroying the European church. The European church wasn't just Christian or Catholic, but they were also pagan. You look at the Druids. When the Roman Empire was invading Europe, trying to rule and conquer the northern countries of Welsh, Celtic, Anglo Saxon, Germanic, and Indo European countries. They had a hell of a time because people believed more in the Druids than they did of the Roman Empire and the Catholic Church. Why? Because it was a system that was known for hundreds of years beforehand. So the Roman Empire went in and they wiped out the ancient Druids. This is simple history. This is history. You can Google it yourself on Ancient Aliens. You can go into the History Channel and see this in documentaries. You can go into your history books and you're going to see this. Now, in schools today, they don't teach this stuff, which is why you have to get into the college level material. But here's the thing, you're going to see conquering nations, conquering religions throughout history, especially the last 1,000 years, the last 2,000 years, 2,500 years. But you're also going to see where black magic and sorcery has flourished regardless of this. You look at the grimoire traditions of sorcery where it incorporated the names of power, such as Elohim, Al, Yahweh, Yazad. These are all JCI names, but they're also associated with the Kabbalah and Hermeneutics traditions. You're going to see where these systems gained a following, which in return incorporated the witch trials and the burning times, the holy wars, and the dark ages. Now, why was witchcraft and sorcery feared within the dark ages? It doesn't matter if it's Slavic traditions, European traditions, down into, say, for an example, that of Greek. It was the unknown. It was that mysterious power, the seduction of it. It was considered art, but it was also the propaganda being put forth. If you create a rumor, what's going to happen? Not only is that rumor going to flourish, but it's going to take a few extra spins into different stories, depending on who's going to be telling it. Ritualized magic, ritualized sorcery flourished because you had those who dared to practice. They were solitary or hereditary family lines who went underground. Those who practiced in secret did so out in the woods, away from the prying eyes of the populace. So those who were uninformed going through this area or this region of woods would hear all these crying and hooting and hollering, and you'd hear, the deafening silence around you from the wildlife. Now, what would happen if you didn't have complete control of your own fears? Your mind would play tricks on you. You'd think you'd see something out of the corner of your eye when nothing was there. But then, when you add in herbalism, like witch doctors, shamans, perhaps those who have the ability to conjure and to rejuvenate corpses like necromancers, the Witch of Endor, blood sorcery, spiritual conjuration that can become fortune tellers, as they're now known today, who can tell you your past, present, and future. Would that not freak you out? Would that not scare you? Would you have that kind of respect for these practitioners back then? You see the point. A lot of times back in the Dark Ages, people were uninformed, so they'd let their fears run wild, their imaginations. This is why you have the image of Satan as being that of Loki, Set in, or even Pan, the Greek god of fertility and nature. Set, the ruler in Egyptian mythology of storms and chaos, highly respected and feared. That of Loki, the god of mischief, the trickster, who had the horns and the scepter, the cloven hooves of Pan, half man, half goat. The depictions through art and history tell a story. No matter what tradition of magic you're getting into, you're going to see this from African cave paintings to drawings in European cultures, even here in the United States and the Americas. You're going to see these in ancient cultures, from pottery to stones, walls, to that of caves, things that are considered protective, historical, even. You're going to see this. Rituals played a huge part as well, especially around the 13th and 14th century when the witch trials and the persecutions and the Inquisition really took form. You had those that were captured and accused of being witches and put to death. But you also had those who fired back through sorcery, through black magic, how to destroy an enemy. Later on, it became associated with poisons and venoms, powders that were used. The sorcerer or sorceress was immune to it. Nicholas Remy's book on demonolatry tells of 3 powders that were used. 3 powders. One black that was meant to kill an enemy. An amber-colored powder that was made to make someone sick or ill. And a white powder that was always carried to heal them. Okay? Later on, poisons were utilized to eliminate your enemies. This became known as alchemy and herbalism. Even today, in black magic, poisons are still found. Venoms are still found. You take the Haitian voodoo zombie powder, pufferfish, gases from toads, poisons from tree frogs, were all of the 3 main categories used in just about every type of powder. But every Bokor had their own unique mixture outside of that they incorporated with these 3 fundamental items. No matter where you look, ritual sorcery is done either through geometric shapes like the triangle of evocation or that of the circle of empowerment, utilizing sigils or sigilliums, personal, going into photos, utilizing effigies. Everything like this has been played and placed within ritual sorcery of some kind or another. Now, how do you know this if you don't delve into the works to learn them for yourself? A lot of great authors have written about this stuff. Look at Peterson in his books of, say, for an example, the Grimorium Vernum, the Secrets of Solomon, and the True Black Magic. This is just based off hermeneutics and your mainstream grimoire traditions based off the Solomantic keys. But let's go into, say, for example, the Red Book of Appin, Vlad the Impaler's personal dictionary, his own personalized grimoire, written by his own scribe, utilizing Samael, Lilith, Astaroth, and Nibiru, calling upon Beelzebub, Marduk, and a few others, utilizing different ingredients like blood, utilizing powders, utilizing bones, following the wizard, denying the church and renouncing the church 3 times. Go into demonolatry, such as, let's go with the Infernal Dictionary, or perhaps the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. Go into the Grimoire of Armadale, perhaps the Magus Volume 1 and 2 by Francis Barrett. You're going to see commonalities within the spirits. You're going to see commonalities within the sigils in the writing, the alphabet, the runes that are called forth, to call these beings forth. But then you get into works such as the Munich Manuscript, which is a book based off experiments of the 7 forbidden arts. One of the greatest books out there that I have found on black magic and true sorcery. Okay? Not just that of the Mazagera Cabal system. No. And the Mazagera Cabal system sits alone in its sorcery that is unprecedented. Okay? Even I've had to sit there and go, wow, to that as a practitioner. Okay? But the Munich manuscripts, there's a lot of things that go into that. From the Mirror of Lilith, which we now know as a scrying mirror. Okay? A lot of times it's either square or it's circular. Maybe oval in shape. Some people like these big mirrors that they can create and have black. They can hang on a wall. Either way, it's known as the Mirror of Lilith. It's one of the earliest mentions of that. But necromancy has always been associated with the 7 forbiddens. Necromancy, geomancy, aeromancy, pyromancy, and the others right there. All of this, all the way right up through, has been associated with this. Sorcery of any kind has been there, but it comes down to the ones that you're interested in and what fits with you. So do your homework. It takes years to master. To expand your horizons within the traditions is something that a sorcerer needs to do. You take me for an example. Through the Mazagera Cabal system, I have delved further into European traditions. It's led me into Irish, Welsh, Indo-European systems, Gaelic and Icelandic traditions, the Greco-Germanic, into Slavic and Russian witchcraft. And over the last couple of months, I've always wondered, why is it that every time I've come across a being, it's led me right back into Slavic, into Germanic traditions? There's a reason behind it, but it's there, and you got to be open to it to see where it goes. That working with the seven princes of sin, working with demonology and angelology, working with these old gods to see what they can offer you. It takes study, it takes practice, and it takes being open to what they can bring to your life. It's a mutual beneficial relationship. There's always that of the master and the apprentice, but only you can decide which path or route working fits you. To work with these beings, you have to know what they're about. You have to know about their servitors, their priests, their guardians, their protectors, and their teachers that they can send unto you. But most importantly, when you work with them, it's a revolving door that goes back and forth. It's not just a one way. What you put out is what you get back in return. The mutual beneficial relationship. Don't take it lightly. All right? I hope this has been educational. I hope it's been enlightening. I hope you delve into some of these works that I've mentioned. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Okay? Or any other admin in Dark Sorcery. All right? I want to thank everybody that's participated here and also paid visual acuity to this video and to any other video that's surrounding Dark Sorcery. And until next time, I'm signing off. Have a good night. And you're welcome, Seeking Serpent 6. All right? Good night.